I want to start today by asking you a simple question. Have you ever felt stuck in your English learning journey? You practice, you try, you even study hard, but somehow fluency seems like it's just beyond your reach. And maybe, just maybe, you start thinking, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe English just isn't for me. I've been there myself, and I can tell you, the biggest difference between someone who struggles and someone who makes real, noticeable progress isn't just about how many hours they study or how many grammar rules they memorize. It's about something far more subtle and far more powerful. It's your mindset. Yes, your mindset, the way you think, the stories you tell yourself about learning, and the beliefs you carry inside your head. Let me tell you a story. I once had a student, let's call him David. David had tried learning English for years. He went to classes, read books, even practiced with apps every day. But every time he tried to speak, he froze. He felt embarrassed. He thought, I'll never be fluent. I'm just not good at languages. And because he believed that, no matter how much he practiced, his English stayed stuck at the same level for years. Now, here's the interesting part. I worked with him to change something simple, how he thought about learning. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, we started seeing them as signals like road signs on the highway of learning. Every mistake was a sign pointing him in the right direction. And slowly, his fluency started to improve. Not because he suddenly practiced 10 times harder, but because his mind stopped fighting him and started supporting him. Here's the truth: your brain is incredible, but it loves patterns. It loves the stories you tell it. If you tell yourself, I can't speak English, your brain will find ways to make that true. But if you tell yourself, I'm learning, and every day I get a little better, your brain will start noticing opportunities to grow. This is called a growth mindset, and it is a game changer. Think about it. Imagine two people. One person believes, I'm bad at English, it's too hard for me. The other person thinks, English is a challenge, but I can learn. Both of them face the same difficulties: grammar rules, pronunciation, vocabulary. But the second person will keep going. They'll try new things, take risks in conversations, and they'll learn from their mistakes. The first person, they'll give up, or worse, they'll plateau and get frustrated. That's the power of mindset. And it's not just about believing you can improve. It's also about how you deal with fear. Fear of speaking, fear of making mistakes, fear of looking foolish. I remember a student named Maria. She was terrified of speaking English in front of others. She would panic, stumble over her words, and then think, see, I'm not good at this. But when we worked on mindset, we didn't start with grammar or vocabulary. We started with courage. We started with permission to speak badly, to stumble, to laugh at herself, and to try again. Suddenly, English became less scary, and when fear left the room, fluency had a chance to enter. You see, fluency is not just a skill, it's a state of mind. When your mind is open, confident, and curious, your brain can absorb language much faster. When your mind is closed, full of doubt and self-criticism, it acts like a roadblock. Even if you study every day, you might not see progress because your mind is stuck in I can't mode. Here's another interesting thing. Your mindset doesn't just affect your speaking. It affects your listening, your reading, your writing, every part of language. If you go into a conversation thinking, I'll never understand native speakers, guess what happens? You won't. Your brain literally tunes out because it's already convinced it can't succeed. But if you go in thinking, I might not understand everything, but I'll catch the key ideas and learn from the rest. Suddenly your comprehension skyrockets. It's like flipping a switch. Your mind decides whether the road is open or closed. And I want to be honest here, it's not always easy. Changing your mindset is not a one-time thing. It's like training a muscle. At first, you'll notice your old thoughts popping up. I'm too old to learn. I'm too shy. I'll never sound natural. That's normal. The key is to notice those thoughts and then gently redirect yourself. Remind yourself, I am learning. I am improving. Every small step counts. One way to do this is through what I call micro successes. Celebrate the tiniest victories. Did you say one sentence without pausing? Celebrate it. Did you understand a joke in English? Celebrate it. Did you finally remember a word you forgot yesterday? Celebrate it. These small wins rewire your brain to focus on progress, not perfection. And when your brain is focused on progress, fluency isn't far behind. And let me tell you, the best part of having the right mindset is this: it makes learning fun. When you stop fearing mistakes, when you stop doubting yourself, every interaction becomes an opportunity. Every conversation, every podcast, every book is a chance to grow. And that joy, that curiosity, that is what fuels long-term fluency. People who enjoy learning don't quit. They keep going, day after day, and fluency is the natural outcome. Now, let's talk about one more subtle thing that mindset affects: consistency. Think about it, language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. And the people who succeed, the ones who really become fluent, aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who keep showing up, day after day, because they believe in the process, because they trust themselves to improve. That trust comes from mindset. If your mindset says, I can do this, I will do this, I will keep going even when it's hard, then consistency becomes effortless. But if your mindset is filled with doubt, every day feels like a struggle, and it's easy to give up. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine your mind as a garden. Your thoughts are seeds. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and frustration, that garden will be overrun with weeds. But if you plant seeds of curiosity, courage, and belief in your ability to learn, your garden will flourish. And fluency is the fruit that grows naturally in that garden. You don't force it, you nurture it, you water it with practice and patience, and it blooms. So today, I want you to ask yourself, what kind of seeds am I planting in my mind? Am I nurturing doubt and fear, or am I nurturing belief and courage? Because that choice, your mindset, decides your fluency. Not just the words you memorize, not just the exercises you complete, not just the hours you spend. It's how you think about learning, how you treat yourself, and how you respond to challenges. That is the difference between someone who struggles and someone who thrives. And here's the most exciting part. Mindset is something you can change. It's not fixed. Every thought you have, every story you tell yourself about your ability to learn is a choice. And with each choice, you're shaping your brain, shaping your confidence and shaping your fluency. Think about all the amazing speakers you admire, the ones who make English sound effortless. Do you think they never struggled? Do you think they never doubted themselves? Of course they did, but they didn't let their doubts control them. They chose to believe in growth. They chose to keep going. And that choice, that mindset, made all the difference. So as you practice today, and every day, I want you to remember this. Fluency isn't just about vocabulary, grammar, or pronunciation. Fluency is about your mind. The words you speak are just the reflection of the way you think. Change your thinking. Nurture your mindset. And fluency will follow naturally. And yes, there will be hard days. Days when you stumble, when your confidence wavers. That's part of the journey. But every time you notice that doubt, every time you redirect your mind toward growth, you are strengthening the most important skill of all, the skill that decides your fluency, the skill of believing in yourself and your ability to learn. Now, let's talk about one of my favorite ways to shift your mindset, something I call mental rehearsal. Imagine this. Before you speak English, before you even open your mouth, you take a few moments to visualize yourself speaking confidently. Picture the conversation going well. Picture yourself smiling, enjoying the moment, making small mistakes but handling them easily. When you do this consistently, your brain starts treating it almost like it's real. You start building a mental pathway toward fluency, and when the real moment comes, your mind is already prepared. It's like practicing the map. Before you take the journey, your brain knows where to go, and fear has less room to enter. I remember a student, Ali. Ali was always nervous before speaking. He would panic, words would escape him, and he would feel embarrassed. We started this mental rehearsal exercise. Every morning, he would close his eyes for 5 minutes and picture himself in conversations, ordering coffee, chatting with a colleague, explaining his ideas. At first, it felt strange, almost silly. But after a few weeks, something incredible happened. He started speaking in real life with more confidence. Mistakes didn't paralyze him anymore. His mindset had shifted, and his fluency followed naturally. Here's another thing to think about. Language is messy. No matter how much you study, no matter how many rules you memorize, mistakes are inevitable. But the difference is how your mind reacts to them. Let's say you're talking to someone and you mix up a verb tense. Some people freeze. They feel humiliated. Their mindset says, I failed. I can't do this. But someone with the right mindset, they laugh, correct themselves, and move on. The sentence is still there. The meaning still comes across. And most importantly, their confidence stays intact. That's why mindset is more powerful than grammar books. And here's a tip that often surprises learners. Stop trying to be perfect. Fluency isn't about speaking flawlessly. Fluency is about communication, about getting your message across. Think about children learning their first language. They don't worry about making mistakes. They experiment, they try, they repeat. And slowly, almost magically, they become fluent. The only difference for adults learning English is that we let our mindset get in the way. We're afraid of mistakes, so we stop experimenting. But the moment you allow yourself to play with the language, to make mistakes without fear, fluency accelerates. Let's make this practical. I want you to take a moment right now, pause, Think about one negative thought you've had about your English. Maybe it's, I'm too old to learn, or I'll never sound natural. Got it? Now, I want you to gently challenge that thought. Ask yourself, is this really true? Or is it just a story my mind is telling me? Replace it with something empowering. I am learning. Every day I improve. Mistakes are part of my journey. Say it to yourself several times. This is the kind of mental exercise that rewires your brain. Over time, your default thoughts about English will shift from doubt to belief. And that shift alone can unlock months of hidden progress. And speaking of hidden progress, let me tell you a story about small, almost invisible changes that lead to big results. There was a student named Lila. At first, her English was shaky. She could read and write, but speaking was a struggle. Every day, she dedicated just 15 minutes to speaking out loud to herself, reading a paragraph, summarizing a short video, or repeating sentences. She thought, it's too little to make a difference. But after 6 months, when we recorded her speaking, the change was remarkable. The secret wasn't the 15 minutes, it was her mindset. She believed that small, consistent effort mattered. She celebrated tiny wins, and because of that belief, her fluency skyrocketed. This is what I want you to take away. Mindset isn't some abstract concept. It's practical. It determines how you approach practice, how you respond to mistakes, how you keep going when it feels hard. And the best part, you can train it like a muscle with simple daily exercises, mental rehearsal, positive self-talk, celebrating micro successes, and allowing yourself to make mistakes. And here's another powerful exercise I call curiosity over judgment. Every time you encounter something new, in English a word you don't know, a sentence you don't understand, pause. Instead of thinking, I should know this, I'm failing, ask yourself, how interesting? What can I learn from this? Suddenly, learning becomes a game. Your mind stops judging and starts exploring. And an exploring mind, that mind learns faster, remembers more, and speaks more confidently. Let's bring it even closer to real-life situations. Imagine you're at a party, or in a meeting, or even chatting online, and someone says something you don't understand. Your first reaction might be panic or embarrassment. But if your mindset is curiosity driven, you can smile, ask for clarification, or even guess the meaning. And every time you do that, your brain records it as success, not failure. Over time, fluency isn't just possible, it becomes natural. I also want to touch on one subtle but important aspect: self-compassion. Too many learners are harsh on themselves. They compare themselves to native speakers, or worse, to other learners. They beat themselves up over mistakes. But here's the truth. Your mind learns best when it feels safe and encouraged. If you treat yourself kindly, if you celebrate effort over perfection, your fluency will flourish. Treat your mind like a friend, not a critic. Treat your learning like an adventure, not a test. And finally, let me leave you with a perspective that often surprises people. Mindset isn't just about positive thinking. It's about realistic optimism. It's about acknowledging the difficulty, acknowledging the mistakes, and still choosing to move forward. It's about seeing challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. When you adopt that mindset, you transform your entire learning experience. Suddenly, English isn't a chore, it's a journey you enjoy, mistakes and all. Now, Let's take this idea of mindset a step further and talk about the language comfort zone. Most learners get stuck because they stay in a zone that feels safe. They read books, listen to podcasts, maybe practice with an app, but they avoid real conversations. Why? Because their mindset is saying, what if I make a fool of myself? Here's the thing, growth lives outside the comfort zone. I remember a student named Rafi. Rafi loved studying grammar and vocabulary, but he never spoke with anyone outside of class. When I encouraged him to try speaking with a stranger online, he hesitated. He was scared. But we reframed it as an experiment. Let's see what happens if you try. No pressure, no judgment, just observation. That mindset shift made all the difference. He went into his first conversation nervous, but curious. And guess what? He made mistakes. He laughed at them. And by the end of the chat, he felt exhilarated. That feeling, the thrill of learning in real life, was what pushed his fluency to the next level. Here's an exercise for you. Pick one small thing today that pushes you slightly outside your comfort zone. Speak to someone in English, even if it's just a 1-minute conversation. Send a message online, ask a question, or respond to a comment. Notice how your mind reacts. Do you feel fear, excitement, curiosity? Observe these feelings without judgment and remind yourself this is where growth happens. And while we're on the topic of exercises, let's talk about mindset journaling. It's simple but incredibly effective. Every day, write down 3 things you did in English that you're proud of, no matter how small. Maybe you understood a movie line without subtitles. Maybe you remembered a word you'd forgotten. Maybe you spoke 1 sentence without hesitating. These are your victories. By writing them down, you train your mind to focus on progress, not perfection. Over time, your brain starts expecting success, and that expectation itself drives fluency. Let's mix in another story. There was a student named Lena. Lena was extremely self-critical. Every time she made a mistake, she would obsess over it for hours. Her mindset was her biggest obstacle. So we started mindset journaling together. Every day, she wrote 3 wins, 3 moments of courage, and 1 thing she was curious about. At first, she found it tedious. But slowly, she noticed a shift. She started celebrating mistakes as learning opportunities. She started looking forward to challenges. And her speaking. It improved faster than she ever imagined, because her mind had finally become her ally, not her enemy. Now, I want to guide you through a simple visualization exercise. Close your eyes for a moment, if you can. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. Picture yourself speaking English confidently in a situation that once felt impossible. Feel the relief, the pride, the excitement. Now, imagine all the small steps it took to get there, the conversations, the practice, the mistakes, the tiny victories. This is what your growth mindset does. It allows you to see the journey, not just the destination. It reminds your brain that every small effort counts, and that fluency is built 1 choice at a time. And here's a subtle but powerful tip. Change your inner dialogue. Right now, as you're learning, notice what your mind says when you make a mistake. Instead of, I'm terrible at this, try, I'm learning. This is part of my journey. Instead of, I'll never get it, try, I can figure this out. Your brain is listening to you constantly. The stories you tell yourself become your reality. And when your story changes from doubt to belief, fluency becomes inevitable. Let's also talk about patience, because mindset without patience can still lead to frustration. Learning English is a long-term journey. It's like planting a tree. You water it daily, you give it sunlight, you care for it, but it doesn't grow overnight. If your mindset is impatient, you'll measure yourself against others, compare, and feel stuck. But if your mindset is patient, you'll see each day as progress, each mistake as a lesson, and each conversation as practice. And over time, fluency doesn't just arrive, it blossoms. Here's another exercise: the small daily win. Every day, pick one micro action in English, read a paragraph, speak one sentence, listen to one podcast segment. Then acknowledge it. Say, I did this today, and it matters. This trains your brain to see progress, not failure. And when your brain sees progress every day, it builds confidence automatically. Confidence is like the wind beneath fluency. It carries you forward. And remember, mindset is contagious. Surround yourself with people, content, and communities that encourage growth. Watch videos, listen to podcasts, read books by learners who inspire you. Connect with people who celebrate effort over perfection. Your brain absorbs not just language, but attitudes, and this can make learning feel easier and more natural. Finally, let's bring it all together. Your mindset is like the engine of a car. Grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, they're the wheels. But without the engine running, the car won't move. Your mindset determines how fast you go, how confidently you steer, and how far you travel. Every time you choose curiosity over fear, every time you celebrate small wins, every time you allow yourself to make mistakes and keep going, you're fueling that engine. And that is how fluency is created, day by day, thought by thought, choice by choice. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about one of the most underestimated tools in language learning: self-talk. Yes, the words you say to yourself in your mind, those tiny conversations you have when no one else is listening, these are incredibly powerful. Most learners don't realize it, but self-talk can either be a rocket fuel or an anchor weighing you down. I remember a student, Samira. She was brilliant, she studied hard, but every time she made a small mistake, she would replay it in her mind endlessly. I'm so bad at English. Why can't I get this right? That inner dialogue created a loop of fear and hesitation. Her brain started avoiding risk because it wanted to protect her from embarrassment. But when we shifted her self-talk, changing, I can't do this, into I'm learning, and this is normal, her brain started taking risks again. Suddenly, she was speaking more freely, trying new words, even making jokes in English. Her fluency skyrocketed not because she studied harder, but because her mindset allowed her to. Here's a small exercise you can do right now. Listen to your inner dialogue for 1 minute. Notice what you're telling yourself about English. Then, take one negative thought and reframe it. For example, if you're thinking, I'm terrible at speaking, change it to, I'm improving every day, and I'm learning from every conversation. Say it out loud if you can. The more you practice this, the more your brain starts expecting success rather than failure. Let's also talk about another important element: resilience. Learning English is full of ups and downs. Sometimes you'll feel stuck, sometimes frustrated. The difference between Someone who eventually becomes fluent and someone who gives up is not talent, it's resilience. Resilience is rooted in mindset. It's the ability to see a setback not as a failure, but as information. What can I learn from this? How can I do it differently next time? Let me give you an example. A student named Omar was preparing for a speaking test. He practiced every day, but on test day, he panicked and stumbled over his words. In the past, he would have told himself, "I failed. I'm not good at English." But this time, we framed it differently. This was practice. Now you know what to focus on next time. That tiny shift in mindset, seeing the experience as feedback rather than failure, transformed his approach. By the next test, he spoke confidently, and his fluency had grown. And here's a practical tool for building resilience: reflection journaling. After every speaking practice, conversation, or listening exercise, write down 3 things that went well and 1 thing you can improve next time. Do this consistently. It trains your mind to focus on growth rather than mistakes. Over time, this simple habit builds a resilient mindset that propels your fluency forward. Now, let's add a layer of storytelling, because stories help the brain remember and internalize lessons. There's a woman named Anya I worked with. She had been learning English for years, but whenever she tried to speak, she froze. She thought, maybe I'm too old, maybe I'll never get it. So we started small, reading aloud for 5 minutes a day, then short conversations with friends, then joining a small online group. Each step was tiny, but her mindset was transforming. She began to believe, I can do this. I am improving. And after 6 months, she was speaking in full conversations confidently. Her fluency wasn't just about practice, it was about believing she could. Here's another interactive exercise you can do. Pick a story from your own life where you succeeded despite doubt or fear. Maybe you learned a skill, overcame a challenge, or faced a fear. Now, imagine applying that same mindset to learning English. Remind yourself, if I could overcome that challenge, I can handle learning English too. This bridges your past successes with your future growth, reinforcing a powerful growth mindset. Let's also explore the concept of language flow. Flow is when you're completely absorbed in an activity where time seems to disappear and performance feels effortless. People reach this state in sports, music, and yes, language learning. And mindset is the key. When your mind is open, curious, and non-judgmental, you're more likely to enter flow. When it's filled with fear, self-doubt, or perfectionism, flow is impossible. So, one of the best ways to boost fluency is to cultivate flow by letting go of judgment, embracing curiosity, and focusing on the joy of communication. Here's a mini practice for flow. Pick an activity you enjoy in English: listening to a song, reading a story, watching a show. Engage fully. Don't pause to correct yourself. Let yourself absorb, enjoy, and experiment. Your brain learns naturally in this state. Mistakes don't matter. Understanding and engagement do. That's the magic of flow, and it's directly tied to mindset. Finally, I want to talk about consistency once more. Fluency doesn't appear overnight. It's built one small, intentional action at a time, and mindset is what keeps you consistent. Every day, no matter how small, you practice with belief, curiosity, and courage. Every day, your brain records growth, not failure. Every day, your mind tells you, I can do this. That cumulative effect compounded over weeks, months, years is what creates true fluency. So, as you continue your journey, remember this: your mindset decides your fluency. It decides how you handle mistakes, how you embrace challenges, how you celebrate victories, and how you stay consistent. Change your mindset, and the language will follow. Now, let's do something powerful together. I want you to take a deep breath and close your eyes if you can. Imagine yourself in a real conversation, maybe with a colleague, a friend, or even a stranger. Notice how your body feels. Are you tense, nervous, excited? Whatever you feel is okay. The goal here isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. Now, I want you to picture yourself speaking confidently. You make small mistakes, and that's fine. You laugh. You correct yourself, and you keep going. Hear the words clearly in your mind. Feel the rhythm of the sentences. Notice the feeling of curiosity and courage as you experiment with the language. This is a mindset exercise. You're training your brain to associate speaking English with confidence and joy, not fear. Let me share a story about a student named Hassan. Hassan had always been afraid of speaking English. Every time he tried, he would tense up, forget words, and retreat into silence. But we did a visualization exercise similar to what you just did. Every day he imagined himself speaking freely, confidently, making mistakes, but continuing. After a few weeks, when he spoke in real conversations, something incredible happened. His mind had already rehearsed success. His fear had less power, and his fluency started flowing naturally. Here's a small but powerful exercise you can do daily, every morning. Spend 2 minutes visualizing yourself speaking English confidently. Imagine different scenarios: ordering at a cafe, chatting online, or explaining an idea. Focus on feeling calm, curious, and confident. Your brain can't tell the difference between real and vividly imagined experiences. This is like planting seeds in your mind, seeds that will grow into fluency. Now, let's talk about speaking in chunks. Many learners get stuck word by word. I want to go. It's slow, awkward, and frustrating. But when you train your brain to think in chunks, small phrases, or complete sentences, fluency becomes much easier. And your mindset plays a huge role here. If you believe you must speak perfectly word by word, you'll never use chunks. But if your mindset is about experimenting and trying, you'll start grouping words naturally. Here's a practical way to do it. Pick a short paragraph from a story or a podcast. Read it aloud several times, not worrying about mistakes. Then, break it into chunks like, I would like to order, or, can you tell me? Say the chunks over and over until they feel natural. Then, practice using them in your own sentences. This builds automatic patterns in your brain, and your mindset of experimentation accelerates the process. Let's also explore speaking to an invisible audience. I often have learners do this, and it's amazing for fluency. Imagine you are speaking to someone even if no one is there. Describe your day, tell a story, or explain a concept in English. Your voice, your thoughts, your imagination, all of it trains your brain to produce language naturally. And here's the key: your mindset must be supportive. Tell yourself, it's okay to make mistakes. I'm practicing. I'm improving. The more you do this, the more confident you become in real-life conversations. Now, I want to guide you through a reflective exercise. Think of a moment when you learn something new, not English, just any skill. Maybe it was riding a bike, cooking a recipe, or learning a song. How did your mindset affect your progress? Did fear slow you down, or did curiosity and persistence help you succeed? Now, imagine applying that same mindset to English. This exercise connects past successes to your current journey, showing your brain that fluency is not impossible, it's just the next skill to master. And here's a story to inspire you. A learner named Maya was convinced she couldn't speak English fluently because she started late. But we worked on mindset exercises, visualization, self-talk, and micro-success journaling. Within months, she started participating in conversations she once feared. Her secret wasn't extra study. It was consistent mindset practice. She believed improvement was possible, celebrated tiny wins, and stayed curious. That belief transformed her learning experience entirely. Let's also include a curiosity challenge for today. Every time you encounter a word, phrase, or sentence you don't know, don't feel frustrated. Instead, ask, how interesting? What can I learn from this? Make it a mini game. Each unfamiliar word becomes a puzzle, each mistake a clue. Your brain loves challenges framed as curiosity rather than threat. This is a mindset hack that accelerates learning naturally. Now, I want to talk about progress tracking. Most learners track hours or lessons, but what really matters is mindset-driven tracking. Instead of just counting study hours, note your courage, curiosity, and experimentation. Did you speak to someone today? Did you make a mistake and laugh? Did you try a new phrase? These mindset wins are far more meaningful than just numbers they tell your brain. I am improving. I am capable. I am growing. Here's another immersive exercise. Record yourself speaking for 2 minutes every day. Don't worry about perfection. Listen to it later and note one thing you did well and one thing you can experiment with next time. This simple habit trains your mind to focus on growth rather than mistakes, and over time, your speaking becomes more confident and natural. Finally, let's bring it all together. Mindset is the invisible force behind fluency. It shapes how you handle mistakes, how you face fear, how you stay consistent, and how you celebrate progress. It allows your brain to absorb language naturally, to experiment, and to enjoy the process. Every visualization, every chunk practiced, every reflective journal entry, every moment of curiosity strengthens this mindset. And when mindset and practice combine, fluency isn't just possible, it becomes inevitable. Now, I want us to do a small but powerful speaking experiment together. Pick a topic, anything you like. Maybe it's your favorite hobby, a movie you recently watched, or even your morning routine. For the next 2 minutes, speak aloud in English. Don't worry about grammar or pronunciation. Just speak. Let the words flow. If you forget something, improvise. If you make a mistake, laugh and continue. This is your safe space to practice, and your mindset is the most important part. As you speak, notice how your mind reacts. Do you feel fear? Excitement? Curiosity? Each feeling is valuable information. A growth mindset doesn't try to suppress these emotions, it observes them and keeps going. By the end of 2 minutes, take a deep breath and reflect what went well. What can you experiment with next time? Even tiny progress matters, and your brain remembers it. Now, let me share a story that illustrates the power of small, consistent practice combined with mindset. There was a student named Yusuf. He had struggled with English for years. Every time he tried to speak, he froze. But we created a plan: 2 minutes of daily speaking, daily mindset journaling, and weekly reflection. At first, he was nervous, but the daily practice, combined with a mindset focused on curiosity and growth, created small wins. After a few months, Yusuf wasn't just speaking, he was confident, natural, and even experimenting with humor in English. His mindset had changed the trajectory of his fluency entirely. Here's another exercise for you: mirror practice. Stand in front of a mirror and speak to yourself. Tell yourself a story, describe your day, or even give yourself a pep talk. Look yourself in the eyes. Notice your facial expressions, your voice, your energy. This builds confidence and self-awareness, which are critical for fluency. And remember, mistakes here are gold, they're opportunities for growth. Celebrate each one. Let's take a pause for reflection. Think about a recent conversation where you felt unsure or nervous. What was going through your mind? How did your mindset affect your words? Now, imagine you had approached that same conversation with curiosity, courage, and the belief that mistakes are part of learning. How would it have felt? Visualize the difference. Your brain is incredibly receptive to this type of mental rehearsal. It's training your mind before your mouth even speaks. Now, let's do a chunk building exercise. Pick a few phrases you commonly use in English, like, "I think that," "You tell me," or "I would like to." Repeat each phrase out loud 5 times. Then try to use it in a new sentence. This trains your brain to think in natural language chunks rather than individual words. Your mindset here is key. Approach this with curiosity, not judgment. Notice how your brain starts connecting these chunks naturally, and over time, speaking becomes smoother and faster. Here's a story to inspire you. A student named Sarah had been afraid to speak English for months. She would write beautifully, but speaking was terrifying. We introduced chunk practice combined with mindset exercises, visualization, curiosity, and self-compassion. Slowly, she started constructing sentences naturally. Her fear decreased, her fluency increased, and she even started enjoying conversations. The secret wasn't grammar or vocabulary alone, it was mindset guiding her practice. Let's also do a listening and repeating exercise. Pick a short clip from a podcast, a YouTube video, or a song. Listen once without worrying about understanding every word. Then, replay it and repeat the sentences aloud. Focus on rhythm, tone, and natural phrasing. Each repetition builds confidence, but your mindset is what allows you to keep going despite challenges. Celebrate every small success, even if you only understand a part of it. Now, I want you to reflect again. Think of a time when you learned something difficult, whether English or not. How did mindset play a role in your success? Remember that feeling: confidence, persistence, curiosity. That same mindset can be applied to English. Every time you encounter a challenge, you can say, "I've overcome difficult things before. I can do this too." And here's another interactive practice for today: conversation shadowing. Find a short dialogue in English. Listen carefully. Then repeat each line immediately after the speaker. Match their pace, intonation, and energy. This trains not only pronunciation and fluency, but also your confidence. Your mindset should be one of playful experimentation. Don't fear mistakes, embrace them, as a natural part of learning. Finally, let's connect all of this with a daily habit framework, morning visualization, S2 minutes. Picture yourself speaking confidently, making mistakes, and handling them with ease. Micro speaking practice to 5 minutes. Speak aloud about your day, your thoughts, or a story. Chunk and repetition practice of 5 minutes. Build natural phrases and use them in new sentences. Reflection and journaling 5 minutes. Note 3 wins. 1 learning point and your mindset observations. Listening and shadowing of 5-10 minutes. Repeat real-life English conversations focusing on rhythm, tone, and confidence. If you follow these steps consistently with a growth-oriented mindset, fluency isn't just a distant goal, it becomes your natural outcome. Every small choice reinforces your brain's belief in your ability to learn and communicate. So, as we bring this part of our conversation to a close, I want you to take a moment and really let this sink in. Your mindset is the engine behind your fluency. It's what fuels your courage, your curiosity, and your persistence. It decides how you handle mistakes, how you embrace challenges, and how consistently you show up to practice. Remember, fluency isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about speaking, experimenting, and learning in a way that feels alive and engaging. Every small win, every sentence you speak, every phrase you try, every time you choose curiosity over fear is a victory. Your mind is listening, and your mindset shapes what's possible. Take the exercises, the stories, the reflections we explored today, and weave them into your daily routine. Visualize your success. Celebrate tiny victories. Speak, experiment, make mistakes, and repeat. Over time, these small steps will compound into real, lasting fluency. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. Learning a language is a journey, not a race. Your mindset determines how enjoyable, rewarding, and ultimately successful that journey will be. Nurture it, strengthen it, and let it guide you every day. Because when your mindset is right, fluency isn't just a dream, it becomes inevitable.